Good morning. You spent the last few lessons looking at the basic rules of fraction, so multiplying, dividing, adding, subtraction. And then we went on to converting between a mixed number, so something like 2 1/4, and improper fractions, which are top heavy, so things like 10/4, 11/3. Okay, so what we're going to do today is kind of put this together now. We're going to start multiplying and dividing mixed numbers. So that's your heading, and the biggest thing to know here is that working with mixed numbers is quite tricky, and so we don't do it. Okay, we kind of cheat our way around it. It's easier to work with normal fractions, even if they are improper, top-heavy ones. And so what we do here is we convert our mixed numbers to improper fractions, then we do our workings, and then we convert back at the end, basically. So how do you multiply a mixed number? You don't. You multiply some improper fractions instead. Okay, and the same thing for dividing. So what we better do to start is just check you remember how to multiply and divide fractions. So if you pause the video and see if you can remember how to do these, I'll give you a little bit of a sort of a nudge in the right direction. Multiplying, just times the tops times the bottoms. Simplify if you can. For dividing, you have to turn the second one upside down and do multiplying instead. Okay, because you can't divide fractions, it's too difficult. So multiply the tops and bottoms on the first three. On the second three, turn the second fraction upside down, that's called a reciprocal, and multiply instead. Pause the video, play when you're done. First one here then, 3 times 2 is 6, 4 times 3 is 12, and if you divide by 6, that's the same as a half. So you can simplify that to a half. Simplifying is going to help today. Okay, simplifying is when you look for something they both divide by. They're both in the 6 times table, so divide by 6. Second one, 4 times 2 is 8, 5 times 7 is 35, but there's nothing that 8 and 35 divide by, so that one is finished. On last one, 6 times 2 is 12, 11 times 3 is 33. Now there is a times table they're both in the 3 times table. So if we divide by 3, you get 4 on the top and 11 on the bottom. So 4 over 11 would be the simplified version of that. It doesn't go any smaller than that. For the division ones then, remember you've got to rewrite the question. So it's really, we do 3/5 times, and then you turn this one upside down. The posh name is reciprocal, so it becomes 5 over 2, and then it's like the ones on top. So 3 times 5 is 15, and 5 times 2 is 10, and you could write that as 3 over 2. We'll go over to converting it back to a mixed number in a minute. So you can leave this 3 over 2 for now. For this one, leave the 7 over 8 as it is, then times, then flip, so 3 over 1. 7 times 3 is 21, 8 times 1 is 8. There isn't a times table that is common for 21 and 8, so that one stays as it is. And for the last one, 4 over 7, times, now flip it, 2 over 1. 4 times 2 is 8, 7 times 1 is 7. You can't simplify it, you could convert it back to a mixed number. Okay, it's how many 7s go into 8 and how many remainders. So if we're going to convert this back, it's how many 7s are in 8, so it goes in once, remainder 1, so 1 and 1/7 if you were going to convert it back to a mixed number, which is what we're going to be doing in a minute. So multiplying mixed numbers then, which is the point of, well, half of today's lesson, because we're going to do dividing as well. So remember we said at the beginning that you don't work with mixed numbers, they're too tricky. So first job is to convert these to improper fractions. So this is going to require you remembering from the other day what to do. So it's 2 times 2 plus the 1 on top. So 2 times 2 is 4, and the 1 on top makes 5. So it's 5 halves, 5 over 2, times 3 times 4 and the 1 on top. So 3 times 4 is 12. The 1 on top makes 13, but it's 13 over 4 because the denominators stay the same when you convert to improper. Now we work it out. So 5 times 13 is 65, and 2 times 4 is 8. So 65 over 8 is the right answer, but that's an improper fraction. It can't be simplified because there's nothing that goes into 65 and 8. So we can't simplify it, but we can convert it back to a mixed number. And to do that, you ask, how many 8s are there in 65 and what's the remainder? So 8 goes into 65 8 times, because 8 8s are 64. And there's 1 left over, so it's 8 and 1/8. And that would be your final answer as a mixed number. For the second one then, convert it to improper. So 5 times 3 plus the 1 on top makes 16 over 3. And then 1 times 3 and the 2 on top makes 5 over 3. When we times them, 16 times 5 is 80, and 3 times 3 is 9. Again, there isn't a simplification for that. There's nothing that goes into 80 and 9. If there was, I would simplify it before I convert it because it makes the converting easier, but I can't simplify because of the numbers. So now we have to say, how many 9s are in 80 with how many remainders? Well, 8 9s are 72. So it goes in 8 times with 8 left over. So it's 8 and 8 ninths. Okay, if you're unsure about how I'm converting them back, have a look in your book or rewatch my video I gave you on converting between improper and mixed numbers. And then the last example then, is they're all exactly the same. So 3 times 5 and the 2 on top makes 17 over 5. Then we've got 4 times 4, which is 16, and the 1 on top makes 17 again, but it's 17 over 4 this time. Now this is the hardest bit now, is doing 17 times 17, which is 289. Okay, I wouldn't blame you if you got your calculator out for that, just to make sure it went right. All divided by 20. And I'm very confident that there's nothing they both divide by. Okay, 20 divides by 2, 4, 5, 10 and 20, and 289 doesn't divide by any of those. So to convert it to a mixed number now, we say how many 20s are there in 289. So if you count up in 20s, you'll work out that 14 times 20 is 280. So it goes in 14 times with 9 left over, and it'd be 9 over 20. So that's quite a difficult one because the numbers are quite big. Okay, but that's the method. It's the most reliable method for multiplying a mixed number. If you try to do anything else, chances are it's going to go wrong. Even if I had to multiply some mixed numbers, I would do it like this. Okay, I wouldn't bother trying to work with mixed numbers. It's far too difficult. So if you want a little bullet point guide to what we do, it's to write both numbers, both fractions, as improper fractions. So write them as top heavy. Do your multiplying. Simplify them if you can, but they won't always simplify. So simplify if you can, and at the very, very end, convert it back to a mixed number. Okay. Right, if we look at dividing now then, it's almost the same thing, apart from you've got to do your flipping this one upside down rule for dividing. So on the first one, I've got to write it as a top heavy. So 4 times 2 plus the 1 makes 9. So 9 over 2 divided by, leave it as a divide for now, 2 times 5 and the 3 on top is 13 over 5. Now this is where it's got an extra step. You're not allowed to divide by a fraction, or you're allowed to, but you can't do it. So rewrite it as multiply and flip. So it becomes 5 over 13. Okay, now it looks like the ones we did before. So 9 times 5 is 45. 2 times 13 is 26. 45 over 26, I'm pretty sure that doesn't simplify. Okay, I can't think of any number that goes into both of those. So 5 doesn't go into both, 9 doesn't go into both, 3 doesn't go into both. So now you ask, how many 26s are there in 45? Well, it only goes in once, because 2 26s are 52, so we haven't got enough for that. So it goes in once, there would be 19 left over, and it'd be 19 over 26. So it's not a very nice question, and that's because dividing fractions, anytime you're dividing with fractions, even if they're mixed numbers, they tend not to go into each other very nicely. So you're going to get horrible answers here, I'm afraid, for a lot of these. If we have a look at another one, first job is always to make them improper. So 6 times 3 plus the 1 on top makes 19 over 3, divided by 2 times 4 and 3 on top makes 11 over 4. Then you've got to do your flip it upside down and multiply. So 19 over 3 times 4 over 11. So 19 times 4 is 76, and 3 times 11 is 33. Again, I'm pretty sure that doesn't simplify, because 33 only divides by 3 and 11, and 76 doesn't divide by 3 or 11. So to convert it back to a mixed number, how many 33s are in 76? So the 33 times table goes 33, 66, 99. So it goes in twice, which is 66, which means we've got 10 left over. So 2 and then 10 over 33 is our mixed number answer. And the last one then, so convert it to an improper. So 5 times 4 is 20, and the 3 on top makes 23 over 4, divided by 2 times 5 is 10, and the 1 on top makes 11, 11 over 5. Then we've got to multiply and flip. So 23 times 5 is 115. 4 times 11 is 44. How many 44s are there in 115? Okay, there's not going to be many. It goes 44, 88, 132. So it only goes in twice, which is 88, remember. And then we've got to work out our remainder. So if we've used 88 and we add 115, so from 88 to 115 is a remainder of 27 out of 44. So these are not very nice questions. Okay, I would have thought if this was going to be in some sort of test, they would fix it so the numbers come out nicely. Okay, but it's very difficult to get nice numbers on these because fractions, when they've got different denominators, just don't go together very well. If you want a bullet point method again for this one, it's really similar to last time. You write both numbers as improper fractions. When you do your division, you have to flip the second one and multiply. So that's what I did when I changed from red to green, when I flipped the second fraction upside down. Simplify if you can, but none of mine simplified. And then convert back to a mixed number. This isn't a very nice topic, okay? And I know you don't particularly like working with fractions, but you need to see it, you need to have an idea. Even if you just, you understand that we've changed to improper because mixed numbers are horrible, and then get as far as you can with the horrible numbers, okay? That would be better than nothing at this stage. We'll obviously need to practice this more over the next couple of years.